Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Jaydeep Sharangi, Faculty of English, Jogesh Chandra Chaudhary College, University of Calcutta, Kolkata. Today we will learn Carpe Diem, Module 21, Paper 1, Anglo-Saxon Literature. This module is written by Dr. Kalyani Dikshit, Dayananda Anglo-Vedic PG College, Lucknow. Friends, we are to cover certain issues of Carpe Diem. Carpe Diem is a Latin term which means seize the day, the fleeting habit of time. Time cannot be grasped by man. Time always fleets. Many of the poems and literature is a byproduct of Carpe Diem theme and subject during early Elizabethan period. We are to discuss at length the parameters of Carpe Diem, what are the features of Carpe Diem, and how does it operate in related poetry. We are also look into some of the important examples, and we are to explain how Carpe Diem becomes a predominant mode or postulation to interpret early Elizabethan poetry. Hello friends, let us begin with defining Carpe Diem. Carpe Diem is originally a Latin phrase or term which means the carpe means seize, diem means day, that means seize the day. The day is not a property of man. Horace used this term in his Odes. In Odes book 1 and number 1 he writes, Spem ingam resis dum log uram fugit invadia aedes carpe diem, which means to a short period while we speak, envious time we will have fled. Seize the day, trusting as little as possible in the next day, that is in future possibility. That means while you are enjoying the present, the maximum utilization of minimum available opportunities. Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow cheats. Whatever is there today, enjoy to its maximum potential. The ode by Horace conveys the message of Horace that the future is unexpected or unforeseen, or one must enjoy the life only considering there is no future tomorrow. Carpe diem is also defined as the destructiveness of the temporal behavior of man. That means what is temporal is bound to be destroyed. What is today is bound to be yesterday if we think of from the perspective of tomorrow. So tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, in this petty pace, days move into ahead. Sir Walter Raleigh and Henry Howard, the Earl of Surrey, are to looked at now from the perspective of Carpe Diem. Friends, Sir Walter Raleigh possibly is known to you all. He is one of the leading personalities in court of Queen Elizabeth and also tried his pen on the format of Carpe Diem. In his poem entitled Nature, that wished her hands, he portrays time as a destroyer of things. It comes and sucks up what is prosperous today. Henry Howard, the Earl of Surrey, composed a poem entitled Brittle Beauty on the theme of Carpe Diem. Beauty is transitory, short-lived and fragile. It's fractured within a moment's happenings. This poem is also known as the frailty and hurtfulness of beauty. Beauty fleets, is never permanent as we think it so. Now we have to discuss on Thomas Campion. Thomas Campion also contributed a lot to the theme of Carpe Diem. Thomas Campion also contributed some precious Carpe Diem motifs in his poetry. His poems, My Sweetest Lesbia, expresses the desire to find and enjoy love before the time of death. That means time for everything, and if we don't do it in proper time, time will eat up the event itself. Now we will discuss two very important contributors of this particular age, Thomas Crewe and Samuel Daniel. Thomas Crewe is precious for his song The Persuasions to Enjoy Inspiration of Celia, and that enjoys life since the time destroys all gloomy fruits. Carpe Diem poems are also called persuasions. Samuel Daniel is one of the leading contributors of early Elizabethan poetry, and most of his poems are rich with Carpe Diem motif. His important songs include Another Song and the sonnet El Indalia. In both, there is a leitmotif of Carpe Diem. He finds the glory of blushing rose short. That means the blushfulness of a rose is never a permanent thing. It perishes as time moves into the gamut of time. Friends, as we have discussed some of the leading contributors, we cannot deny the contribution of Michael Drayton. Michael Drayton is one of the sonneteers of the early Elizabethan period. Michael Drayton wrote sonnet sequence entitled Idea. An idea contains 63 lucid sonnets. Michael Drayton, in his sonnet number 8, expresses his fear for the destructive power of time, and that will diminish beauty of the beloved. He doesn't want to see his beloved's beauty decaying. He can't tolerate it any longer. He compares his beloved to the phoenix, and this way he can also see his beloved beyond the gamut of time. In sonnet number 7, he addresses the speedy time. Time has its own speed to destroy all things beautiful. Here he suggests the time to look himself into the glass, as the glass is subject to be broken away by time. Just like Shakespeare, he wishes the eternalization of the beloved by the power of his mighty pen. He can eternalize his beloved by writing mighty lines on his beloved. Considering the fact that writing poetry or sonnet is immortal. In short sonnets, he uses the destructive power of time as a leitmotif or recurring motive in almost all the sonnets that he has written. Friends, no discussion of the Elizabethan age is complete without William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare wrote 154 immortal sonnets, and most of his poems and sonnets deal with one particular theme, that is called Carpe Diem. He projected time as the devouring factor in his sonnets. Nothing in the world is subject to the charts of time. He portrays time as a killer who strangles lovers' love. Shakespeare preserved and presented all men as time's subjects. No one is beyond time. Act 1, Scene 3 of Henry IV, there is an elaborate passage about time and how time operates in man's life. Nothing is permanent, as time has the final word to say. Sonnet number 12 portrays the power of time, which is without mercy. Time is compared to a merciless king who has the power to kill everybody, including the beautiful things and objects in this mortal world. According to William Shakespeare, time is the most powerful object or agent in this world. The poem presents the images of summer and the snow in winter. Both are parts and parcels of time and the cycle of time. The poem contains a message that time stops for none. You can't but stop time. No one has the power to stop time for a while. In order to gain immortality, one has to produce children to be remembered for generations. There is no other option to come out of and to make an impression in this beautiful art. Sonnet 15 also reveals the decaying nature of time, and it makes human existence and beauty transitory or short-lived, because all physical things are subject to decay. But sonnets can immortalize the beauty of fair youth, because people of generations, year after year, will be reading his sonnets and celebrating the beauty of youth, as we have been doing after the death of William Shakespeare, even after so many years and decades and centuries. In sonnet number 19, the poet addresses time as devouring the nature. He requests the time to demolish the beauty of fair youth and says, please don't, because people are to enjoy while things are in beauty and things are beautiful, and they look beautiful in spring when they are young. But he wants to immortalize him in his verses, and that is the only place where he thinks time has no role to play with, as he can immortalize beautiful aspects through his sonnets. There are some critics who believe that Shakespeare was concerned with Carpe Diem, the briefness of beauty and the devouring power of time. But in sonnet number 116, he establishes the power of love that transcends the limitations of mighty time. In again sonnet 49, he writes about time. Each quatrain starts with a phrase called against that time. In sonnet number 60 again, Shakespeare deals with power of time. Here the poet uses the words like webs, minutes, in order to symbolize time. The pebble shore symbolizes death. The time imparts life to us and also snatches it away. And time that gift doth now his gift confounded. Shakespeare portrays time as injurious, shifting, wasteful, a devourer. According to Shakespeare, God should speed up men to compete with time, but time smiles the final smile. In sonnet number 63, he addresses time as injurious, who crosses individuals and steals away the treasure of spring. By treasure of spring, he means to say that while things are beautiful in their appropriate time, he is also indirectly referring to youth. He writes, for such a time I now 45, against confounding age's cruel knife, that he shall never cut from memory my sweet love's beauty, though my lover's life. These very sentences tell us or sum us the importance of time. The very next sonnet also reflects the poet's struggle against time, that is an arch. The poet seems to suffer from fear of death, but time has the final words to say and may look like a coffin to put an end to it. But unlike sonnet 60, this sonnet ends with a depressing mood and tone. All strong things like brass, stone, boundless sea and love are perishable, but in black ink he can provide immortality to the beauty of his friend. By friend we mean Mr. W.H., with whom William Shakespeare has a deep penetrating interest and relationship. In sonnet number 100, Shakespeare invokes the muse to satirize time's destructive and aging powers. Physical beauty can wither under time's destructive mighty power, but the true love that survives and lasts till the doomsday. Let us discuss some of the critical notes, what the critics think about Shakespeare's obsession with Carpe Diem motif. Elsie Knight rightly observes that sonnet number 116 is set over against what the imagination has made most real. Sonnet number 123 again challenges the might of the destructive power of time. He will remain faithful to his friend despite the destructive power of time. We quote, "This I do now, this shall never be. I will be true despite thy scythe and thee." I think, students, you can easily understand and remember these immortal lines. Student, you must remember and you will recite these lines in silence. In sonnet number 126, the poet refers to the power of time. In spite of the blessings of nature, he should fear time's destructive power. She keeps thee to this purpose. May time disagree and wretched minute kill. And her quietness is the render thee. And we cannot deny also that after William Shakespeare, there are others also who have had discussions on Carpe Diem motif. We can refer to Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson's Come, My Celia is another example of Carpe Diem motif. He calls his beloved to value love, since the time will not be theirs forever. Let me quote, "Come, my Celia, let us prove while we may the sports of love. Time will not be ours forever. He at length our good will savor." The most fascinating contributor, friends, is Robert Herrick. No discussion on Carpe Diem is complete without Robert Herrick. We will devote a separate module, module 22, on Robert Herrick and a couple of his poems in details. But here, a little bit of introduction to Robert Herrick. Robert Herrick's collection of poems entitled Hesperides is noted for the famous Carpe Diem motif. To the virgins, to make much of time are two important examples. His poems contain the message that life is very short, transitory, and one must make the best use of time that he is or she is using for maximum. In the above mentioned Carpe Diem, he writes, "Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, old time is still a flying, and this some flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying." Some of the important poems by Robert Herrick: To Sheba, to Wed, The League to Mirth, To Live, to the virgins, to youth, to be merry, and to blooms. These are some of the important poems by Robert Herrick, and if you are interested, we can refer to some of the images of Robert Herrick, like in Two Daffodils. He appreciates the beautiful flowers of daffodil, but expresses his grief because the beauty is not permanent. There he tries to cast a parallel between these flowers and life. Fair daffodils, we weep to see you haste away so soon. So we must enjoy life to the maximum, because we never know what is waiting for us tomorrow. Robert Herrick is also known for Two Blossoms, which is a love poem but based on Carpe Diem motif. Grave is the ultimate destination for everyone living. No one can wrestle time and death. No one can bypass time and death. So spread the fragrance as speedily as possible while you are enjoying the blessed time of being young, or using the time of spring. Friends, there is another contributor of Carpe Diem we cannot forget, that is Andrew Marvell. I think many of you are aware of To His Coy Mistress. That is a fascinating account of Carpe Diem motif. The text describes how Carpe Diem motif is the leitmotif of life's daily course. I am quoting, "But at my back I always hear time's winged chariot hurrying near, and yonder all above before us lie deserts of vast eternity." Unquote, To His Coy Mistress. At the end, we must conclude by saying that Carpe Diem motif forms an important part of early Elizabethan lyrics and sonnets. There are many contributors who wrote poems about the evanescence of time. Time is not a property of man. If the man is born, the grave is waiting for him. But all these poets emphasize on the fact that one must enjoy the blessings while he or she is passing through heydays. Poets like William Shakespeare, Samuel Daniel, Marvell, Herrick all celebrate the beauty of nature, the beauteous time while being young, the springtime of life, and suggest that why not to enjoy the springtime of life, because there is winter, of course, knocking at the door. Thank you.